All new this afternoon, the Biden administration is now approving another $9 million in student loan forgiveness for 125,000 borrowers. Today's cancellation comes through 3 different debt relief programs which already exist. A White House official says this new round of student loan debt cancellation brings the total debt canceled to $127 billion for nearly 3.6 million borrowers.
Good evening. For too long, we in Washington have been lying to you. We say we're here to serve you when in fact we're serving ourselves. And why? We are driven by our own desire to get reelected. Our need to stay in power eclipses our duty to govern. That ends tonight. Tonight, I give you the truth. And the truth is this: the American dream has failed you. Work hard, play by the rules. You aren't guaranteed success. Your children will not have a better life than you did. 10 million of you can't even get a job, even though you desperately want one. We've been crippled by Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, by welfare, by entitlements. And that is the root of the problem: entitlements. Let me be clear. You are entitled to nothing. You are entitled to nothing. America was built on the spirit of industry. You build your future. It isn't handed to you.
My friends, welcome to the Sheep Cashier podcast. We're here, we talk about people, politics, and popular culture. I'm your host, the one and only Austin Creed. And hey, yo, wouldn't it be great if politicians actually spoke like that? Wouldn't that be great if politicians actually spoke honestly with you and didn't lie, didn't cheat, didn't steal, and every once in a while they glitched and they said, hey, wait a minute, we're actually screwing you over, and we're only for ourselves. While we live in a republic that's meant for us to represent you, all we're doing is taking your money to funnel our own re-election campaigns and our own ambitions. What am I talking about? Well, you might have seen the title to the show. Biden is buying votes. Now, I'm not saying he's going up to Democrats and saying, hey, you, yes, you, here's $100, here, come vote for me. No, he's not saying that. He might be saying, how would he be buying votes? How would he be buying votes?
What?
Well, it's not that hard to comprehend. I mean, I'm going to draw a direct parallel for you, for those of you who don't see it. But before I do that, I present to you Exhibit A, Biden's new student debt strategy. In other words, he's buying votes with public money. He's using public money to fuel public policy and essentially paying people to vote for him by forgiving their student loan debt, which, people have been paying off, and you're basically being penalized for being responsible with your money. Because yesterday, President Joe Biden announced an additional $9 billion with a B, $9 billion in student loan forgiveness. Since Biden's mass student loan forgiveness plan was struck down, so in other words, he wanted to give away more money, but the Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to let you completely bankrupt us. We'll just add another chisel into the tombstone of America. It'll start resuming the first of this month. It says, his administration has been focusing on narrower strategies of relieving student loan debt, such as an income-driven repayment plan. That's double talk. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Let me look. Oh, here it is. It says, who covers higher education to discuss what's next for Americans most affected by the return of payment and the case for higher education as a public good. In other words, they want to indoctrinate you as long as they humanly can. Public happiness, right? Because everybody loves getting something for nothing. Isn't it? Isn't America wonderful? We give away everything as if we're rolling in dough when we're broke as a joke. We're more broke than a Bowery bum. And yet here we are just handing out free money, which doesn't exist as an oxymoronal statement. Over the past several years, the Biden administration has forgiven something like $127 billion in student debt. More than any administration. Duh. He's buying the votes of the liberal white women and the communist bums. That's who he's buying the votes from. Who do you think is getting the student loan debt forgiveness? Mr. Eddie, who lives in Kansas? No. Mr. Smith, who's working as a plumber? No. It's Deborah in Human Resources and Joanne from Joanne Fabrics who failed at getting her degree, or Stephanie, who works a barista job at Starbucks because she got a degree in women's studies or gender studies. That's who's getting the student loan debt forgiveness. Because everybody else is already, like doctors, lawyers, they paid it off already. It's the people with useless degrees who majored in BS who are getting their student loan debts paid off by Joe Biden so they can go vote for him and tell everybody how wonderful he is. Says the total cost is nothing to scoff at, but it still is only a small crack in the armor of this $1 trillion debt burden we have in the United States. In other words, there's $1 trillion in debt total, and he's trying to basically get rid of $127 billion of it, which you can't do. Look, okay, hold on. Let me explain this to all of y'all real quick, okay? I'm going to draw a direct parallel, all right? You ready for this? You ready to follow the bouncing ball? Bear with me, okay? Back in ancient Rome, I know some of you have already fallen asleep, but I'll keep going. Back in ancient Rome, the Caesars would throw games in the Colleseum, the gladiator games. Whether it was they reenacted battles, they had gladiators fight in single combat, they might have fought animals, whatever it was, that was their source of entertainment. Now, there would be times when Caesar would bring out huge barrels of bread, and he would have his servants throw them to the crowds. And the crowds would yell, "Hail Caesar! Hail Caesar! Caesar's great! We love Caesar! Long live Caesar!" What they didn't realize was that the grain that had been used to bake that bread came from their taxes and was being given back to them in the form of bread, and only a fraction of it at that. In other words, the leadership was using their own tax money to amuse the people with their bread and make them attend their circuses to distract them from how bad their life was and how bad the quality of life was. Sound familiar? That's exactly what they're doing now with public works projects, the student loan debt forgiveness, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which is we're going to spend more money to counter inflation. That's like saying, hey, my tire has a hole in it, so I'm going to pump more air into this tire because that's going to fix it. Who do you blame for this? I know who I blame. I blame the people who voted for Joe Biden, if anybody actually did, which is allegedly not what happened. But I'm not trying to get canceled by the who I call the golden faction. The golden faction are the people who bet on both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican, and then they tell the winners what to do. That's the golden faction. James Madison and his, I think it was Federalist, it might be Federalist 51. I think it's Federalist 51 or it's Federalist number 10, where he talks about this idea of fearing the war between the factions in the United States government. He was worried that the factions would cause division and would cause the breakdown of the political system in America. He was afraid that a faction would hijack the government. Well, they already have. They're called the Golden Faction. They're the people who have all the money. The mega donors. The super PAC owners. The super PAC funders. All these people, they fund both sides of the aisle, and whoever wins, they get what they want. That's how the game is played. That's why no matter who you elect, you get nothing. Zero. Except for Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the one exception, and that's why everybody hates him so much, and everybody's out for his blood and to destroy him. Not because he's a piece of garbage, because he's not a piece on the board for them to control. That's why they hate him. You get it yet? Yeah, those of you who see it know what I'm talking about. And those of you who have downloaded the software you've been given your entire life in the public schools and in society, you won't see it. You'll get mad at me for telling you what you just heard instead of thinking about it rationally and realizing that I'm correct. Or challenging me even with logical evidence to the contrary. But do not come at me with controlled opposition garbage. I don't want to hear it. It's too easy to dispute, and I don't want to waste my time. But my friends, Biden is buying votes. Let's go back. Biden administration is forgiving $9 billion in student loan debt for 125,000 Americans. Let's look at who is getting the student loan debt forgiveness money. Here it is. Public servants. In other words, people who work for the government. Oh, wow. Very convenient. About 53,000 borrowers who are enrolled in public service loan forgiveness programs will get $5.2 billion in forgiveness, according to the Education Department. These programs are open to people who work for government or nonprofit organizations, with forgiveness available to over 120 qualifying monthly payments, and while working full-time for an eligible employer. In other words, look at this. The biggest chunk of the money is going to people who work for the government. Wow. Wow, crazy. It's almost like they're giving the money to themselves. But Austin, I thought the government was elected to represent the people, not represent themselves. They're not supposed to have ambition or greed or anything that's actually self-serving. I thought they all cared about the little guy, especially those Democrats who say they care about everybody. They don't care about you. They care about what you can do for them and help line their pockets. Schmuck, when the hell are you going to wake up to what they're doing to you? What else would say? Public servants was number 1 on the list. Who's number 2 on the list? People in IDRs. I don't even know what that is. What is that? Enrolled in IDRS. 51,000 borrowers. I don't even know what this is. What even is this? Let's click on it. Where does it send me? What the hell is this? What is this? I'm not seeing what. Why do you believe? Oh my god! This doesn't actually answer the question I wanted answered. What? Oh my friends, someone wants to find hell as a place where there is no reason. My friends, I'm sorry that I'm dragging you into hell. This is unbelievable. Disabled borrowers. Okay, this actually kind of makes sense. Permanently disabled people. Okay, this actually makes sense a little bit. If I was to support this, which I don't, but if I was, this would make sense. People who literally cannot work for a living. Okay, that makes sense. It's not like they're just bums and they choose not to work and they can work, but they don't. They physically can't work. Okay, that kind of makes sense. I can accept that. When will people hear about their debt forgiveness? Oh, I don't know. Maybe when they check their email or that they check their balance. Oh my goodness. See, this is the problem. How do you feel when you see that people, the largest chunk, let me go back. The largest chunk of people who are getting the student loan debt according to CBS, is public servants. In other words, the government is giving money to its own people. Isn't America wonderful? When you have the government giving money to themselves and their cronies in broad daylight and everybody says it's a good thing. The people who, got garbage degrees from universities like Harvard and then proceed to work in the government and they get a fat pension at the end of the 20 years and they get their student loan debt forgiven. That's a pretty good gig, isn't it? It's almost like they're trying to expand the bureaucracy, and this is the perfect campaign ad to get people to work in the public sector. They might get their student loan debt paid off in the future. Unbelievable to me. Does anybody disagree with me that this is the government buying votes with public money, using public policy as an excuse to purchase votes through the back door? Does anyone disagree with me on that? If you do, I would love to hear a rational argument as to how I'm wrong. I know that conceptually I'm not wrong. Maybe you want to explain to me how I could be misconstruing it or whatever, because that would have to be one hell of an argument. My friends, I made my point. I'm not going to sit on this forever and repeat myself, but how do you feel about the government, mainly your boy in the White House, Joe Biden, buying votes with public money? Until next time, my friends, God bless you. God bless your family, and God bless America. We're out of here. Enjoy your day. Peace out.